Hello, my name is Cecilia Poullain. I'm Australian and I've been living in Paris now for 25 years, which is a very long time. I trained as a lawyer in Australia, in Sydney, and then I worked as a lawyer in some of the big international law firms in London and then in Paris. And for 15 years now, I've been working in finance. So working in a bank. It's actually called an asset manager. So it's a company that manages other people's money. And in parallel to that, to my job, I've also been singing. So taking singing lessons since 1990. So for 31 years. And 5 years ago, I started writing, so doing creative writing. And the other things I've been doing outside my job have been yoga, and something that's called Feldenkrais, which is a way of moving very, very slowly that helps you to understand how you move better. In February of 2019, I wrote and I acted in a one-woman show, and I put it on in a theatre in Paris, and there were over 100 people in the audience, and it was a big success. I really enjoyed it, and I think the audience did too. And it was a story there were 9 little stories about the history of the world. And then in 2019, I also created my coaching company. So the idea was to bring into the coaching company all the things that I was doing outside work. So the singing, the writing, and I did a lot of what's called Gestalt therapy, which is therapy to make people feel happier, where you use lots and lots of creativity. And so I wanted to use all those things in my coaching company. And so I created my coaching company in July of 2019. And the coaching company, I work mostly with women. And I work with women so that they can find their voice. I work with them on their confidence, making them feel more confident, which is often all that they need. They just need to know how fantastic they are. I work with them on public speaking skills, so how to use their voice, how to use their hands, how to use silence, how to move on stage, all those things. And I also work with women who have a particular message they want to get out into the world. So they know that they've got something to say, but they don't know how to say it. So I do those three things. And I work with companies, so corporate clients. I work with them on diversity, so with their women, on things that women can be doing better to succeed in corporations. Or I work with corporations about how they can understand better what some of the difficulties are for women in corporations. So for example, one of the things I do is a workshop on fear and imagine our fear. Part of my coaching is a podcast. So I created a podcast in January of this year called Brave New Women. And the podcast is interviews of women from all around the world who are doing, pretty amazing things. So for example, I've got a woman who works with the islands in the Pacific on climate change. I've got a woman who's a doctor for the Australian Aborigines and Torres Strait Islander people. I work with a woman who set up 3 schools for poor children in Uganda. So that's just an example of the sort of women that I'm interviewing. And then last week I created the first of a panel, so Zoom calls, bringing together all the women that I'd interviewed and my clients and other women who were interested to talk about some of the themes that I was hearing from different women all around the world. So the first thing we talked about was better conversations. So how can we speak better in ways that are more human so that we can connect more one with another? So that was the panel. I suppose the message that I would like to give you is, in my corporate life, the 2 things that were missing for me were creativity, so being able to be really creative, which is what I found in my writing. And the other thing that was missing was being able to really help people. So when I was working in the law and in finance, it was very much about money and facts and figures. And after a while, I found that didn't fulfill me enough. And now that I've found what really excites me, then it's just so much, my life is so much fuller and richer and better. And when I come out of a coaching session with a client and they say to me things like, I've turned things around 180 degrees, or I feel so much happier, or they've got a huge smile on their face. There's nothing that's more satisfying than that. I'd like to encourage you to think about what is that thing that really excites you, that you really love to do. And I'd like to encourage you to, maybe you don't know what that is yet, and maybe it takes a bit of time to find it. But if you do know what it is, then really, really put all you can into doing that one thing.